The SIG Sauer P226 is one of the most decorated and well-regarded service handguns in the world. This big double-action Cold War classic is starting to get a little long in the tooth, but it is so reliable, durable, and accurate that it is seeing a spike of renewed interest among shooters, thanks to the resurgence of interest in hammer-fired pistols generally. A full-size, all-metal 9mm with a nominal capacity of 15 rounds might not seem like anything to get excited over these days. But unless you are an older shooter or a hardcore SIG fan, you don't know what makes these guns so special. I'm here to fix that. And in this video, I'll be telling you everything about the P226 that no one else has. Before we pop the hood on this classic warhorse, think about signing up to become a channel member here on All About Survival. Our channel members help us make our content even better and reach an even bigger audience. And for that, they have our gratitude. In return, members also gain access to exclusive unlisted video playlists, downloadable walkthroughs and how-to guides, and a lot of other stuff we've got planned for the future. Thanks so much for watching as always, and thanks for thinking of us. Now, it's time to check out the P226. The long-serving Beretta 92 FS, known in military parlance as the M9, has been replaced by the SIG P320 as the M17 modular handgun system. But before Beretta became the recipient of millions and millions of DoD dollars back in the mid-1980s, another SIG pistol was nipping at the contract during the infamously brutal XM9 service pistol trials. That pistol, of course, is the P226. Those trials are the stuff of legend to shooters who have immersed themselves in the deep lore of the gun world. A full accounting of that years-long trial is way beyond the confines of this video. But what's important is understanding what all the candidate pistols were put through. All of the guns were soaked in salt water, dropped countless times on concrete, and buried in mud, sand, and snow. They were roasted at temperatures of 140 degrees Fahrenheit and frozen solid at -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Pistols were subjected to an MRBF test, or mean rounds before failure test. That was nominally only a relatively sedate 500 rounds. But during the trials, the guns were shot over and over again until they broke, and each entrant was subjected to this test multiple times for consistency. And that was only the warm-up. The first overture, and the symphony of abuse that the P226 not only survived but persevered through with flying colors. The P226 fired thousands and thousands of rounds without malfunctioning. Each individual gun showed a service life in excess of 30,000 rounds. After this downright torturous firing schedule, the P226 was then subjected to extra high-pressure proofing loads that could destroy lesser pistols. It digested them with no significant damage, as evidenced by detail stripping and inspection during the trials. Even after this diabolical regimen, each individual P226 pistol passed 50-meter accuracy testing. And the circus doesn't stop there. During the trials, after all this, the candidate guns that had survived this far would then be batch tested by taking 30 of them, picked at random, then breaking them down to every pin, part, and spring before mixing up all the parts and reassembling all the pistols, Frankenstein style. Of those 30 Franken guns, 3 would then be chosen and resubjected to a 15,000 round endurance test. You already know where this is going. The P226 passed all of these tests, as did the Beretta 92. Because of this, I can say with no exaggeration and no hyperbole that the P226 is one of only a few guns that can truly be considered ultra-reliable by any metric. The P226 is one of the safest pistols ever made. Aside from its reliability, the P226 is also one of the most comprehensively safe handguns ever, thanks to its phenomenally good 4-point safety system, automatic firing pin block, safety intercept notch, hammer bar disconnector, and decocker. These systems all work together to prevent discharge under any conceivable circumstances, in any way, unless the trigger is pressed all the way to the rear. The deeply recessed firing pin, even if struck directly, will not move forward to impact the primer on a chambered round. Even if the hammer itself were somehow smashed so hard that it broke, this would not defeat these automatic and overlapping safety systems to result in an unwanted discharge, whether or not the hammer is already cocked. Unlike the Beretta M9 and other DA/SA pistols from that era, the P226 does not feature a manual safety. That means that, if a round is in the chamber, it is always ready to fire at a moment's notice. This means a simpler manual of arms compared to legacy pistols of similar design. Put a round in the chamber, thumb the decocking lever to safety, lower the hammer, and you are ready to holster and carry with total confidence. There's a lot more you need to know about the P226, and I'll tell you in just a second. Before I do, give me 2 seconds of your time and hit like and subscribe. Those 2 clicks do so much to help out the channel. Thanks a bunch! You can swap out the one-piece E2 grip on newer guns. On the older P226 models produced from the 80s all the way through the first decade of the 2000s, one of the most common complaints about it was the size of the grip. Although hardly remarkable, the circumference of the grip, combined with its long trigger reach, makes these guns tough to use for those with small hands or short fingers. Long story short, SIG eventually got around to alleviating this issue through the use of the E2 grip. Compared to traditional screw-on grip panels, this single-piece grip shell dramatically shrinks the circumference and reduces the length of pull. Combined with a short trigger, this has made the P226 far more usable for more shooters and results in greater control over that double-action first press for most of us, regardless. That said, if you have bigger hands or just want some stylish grips beyond the factory offerings, you'll be happy to know it's possible to pop off any factory-installed E2 grip shell and simply bolt on vintage or modern 2-piece grips, as long as you have the appropriate screws. There are single-action only P226 variants. I myself am a dedicated P226 shooter. I've been running one as my full-time go-to pistol since 2007, and I was rocking other DA/SA SIGs for more than a decade prior to that. I've let lots of friends, associates, and clients shoot mine, and most folks find a lot to love about it. The ergonomics, the mild recoil, the accuracy, and of course, the dependability. But far and away, the biggest gripe leveled against the P226 by modern shooters is a categorical one. They don't like the double-action first shot. I'll spare you the long-winded rant on why DA/SA disdain is real midwit posting hours, but I will happily report that it isn't a problem at all if you love the P226 otherwise. You can get them in single-action only variants. SIG used to make basic, stock P226Rs that featured a manual thumb safety and no decocker, allowing you to run this hardcore combat semi-auto like a 1911. Today, the Legion and X5 variants are the only ones currently produced as single actions, and they are a considerable step up in price, but also performance, compared to the basic DA/SA versions. If you love the pedigree of this pistol, but have to have a consistent trigger, they are still a stupendously good choice, even if they will rankle the sensibilities of the grognard 6-shooters like me. The slide release is easy to depress, accidentally. If this pistol can be said to have something of a genuine Achilles heel, it is the fact that the slide release, conveniently located all the way at the rear where the shooting thumb can reach it easily, is a little too easy to actuate. If you're taking a high two-handed thumbs forward grip on a P226 of any vintage, there's a good chance that your shooting thumb will actually be resting on and pressing down on that slide release. This will not result in a stoppage, but it will cause a malfunction of sorts in that the slide will not then lock open when the last round is fired in the magazine. Getting a click instead of a bang might then lead to a well-drilled shooter heading into malfunction reduction procedures, instead of dropping the empty mag and performing an emergency reload. For those of us who are less defensively or tactically minded, this is merely an annoyance, but for serious shooters, this can be a big deal. You've got two solutions, one software and one hardware. The software solution is to train with the gun and move the shooting hand thumb outboard slightly so it is resting on the base of the support hand thumb, well clear of the slide release. This adjustment will take time if you are new to these guns, but not to shooting, but is achievable and will not compromise your grip and hurt your shooting performance. And of course, going back to any other gun, this technique works all the same. The hardware solution is to select grips, like SIG's own excellent Legion-style grips, that are slightly built up around the slide release in a sort of boss or fence. This feature will usually prevent the shooting thumb from inadvertently depressing the slide release when taking a normal two-handed hold, but still allows the slide release to be deliberately depressed with the same digit. Obviously, the viability of this solution will depend on your preferences and the availability of different grips, but having handled said grips, I can tell you they definitely work. And that is a wrap for everything you need to know about SIG's flagship P226 family of pistols. These are some of the most dependable and decorated combat handguns on Earth, and if you like hammer-fired DASA guns, it is truly difficult to do better. I want to know where your heart is at on the P226, and you can tell me down in the comments. Do you love them just the way they are, DASA, or would you have to have a single action-only version for the consistent trigger pull? Sound off! And before you go, do be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any great upcoming videos here on All About Survival. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video. Keep your powder dry and stay safe out there.